I Don't Like You and the Lame Loser, whose idea was it to go after LL and Kool Moe Dee? Was it theirs? Was it yours? Was it one of your boys? Like,
But that was mine. That was all me. I already had I wrote those songs like I was telling you. I was speaking before. Uh, LL and Kool Moe were the top dogs at the time, and they were going head up, you know. And so I decided to write the song about Kool Moe Dee because I thought LL was the champ at the time, but I didn't want to seem like I'm helping him diss Kool Moe Dee, so I balanced it out and dissed him as well and tried and represented for the Midwest, for Detroit, for Akron, for the Midwest, and let them know that we can spit too, not just New York. So, but yeah, it was all that was my idea. I'm trying to think of how. I'm not exactly sure who came up with actually putting them on the ground with the guns to their head though. I don't think that was my idea. I gotta ask Ivan about that. I can't remember who came up with actually the
yeah, because that
visual.
12-inch cover is very memorable.
And that one is right in your face. That one is what jumped everything off because it was the first picture that I had on a record. You know, the first one was a white label, no picture. And so that second 12-inch, we put a picture on there and it was like, bam, here we go. And it was a very, very interesting picture, needless to say.
And the Detroit disposal also. So did
Yeah,
any
we was just randomly riding around downtown, man, and that's how we do sometimes. They say, hey, look, that'd be a good spot. Let's go over there. That's set up perfectly. And we just randomly wrote like boom. And after we do what we do, in you go, buddy. Wait
and
for people.
off of that 12-inch, did anybody in Detroit or just around, did you ever get any negative feedback, or was everybody like, yo, I can't believe y'all dissed them, or what?
Well, I can't say it was negative feedback. Everyone's like, no, it wasn't any negative feedback. Um, just why, just questions, different stuff. You know what I mean? Nah, we never had any problem. I think at the studio, I gotta ask Corey again though, because I do think though that somebody from the LL camp might have called the studio, like inquiring, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a problem or something. We're like, what? This is hip hop. There's no problem. We're not trying to physically harm nobody out here, but I don't know. They might have took it a different way. But it was all love. And years later, uh, matter of fact, on the no, in '99 we was out on tour with Public Enemy on their 40th tour, um, and we were doing House of Blues LA and Champtown. I was out there with Champtown, um, Diffusion, and DJ Invisible. He was our DJ. And so we just chilling, man. And Champtown come down and say, "Hey, man, I just saw Kool Moe Dee upstairs, man. He said he gonna fuck you up when you see." I was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever." So we went on upstairs, looked at Kool Moe Dee, and I seen him, and I walked up to him, and you know what I'm saying, I looked at him, he looked at me, grimming each other, and then we just bust out laughing and gave each other daps and a hug, you know what I'm saying? Because he already knew what it was, you know what I'm saying? And we took a flick, man. That's what hip hop is all about, So yeah, man. Yeah, I'm glad that they made the decisions that they did because they were the business people. I'm a creative person, so it's like all of my ideas don't necessarily, translate to the public, you know what I'm saying? So, but they like, no, we're gonna do it like this, we're gonna do it like that. That's a good thing about having a team around it, that know what they're doing. So we had that back then, even though we learned a lot too. We didn't know a lot business wise, but when we finally did get with like priority after we dealt with some bullshit, we did get with priority. We ain't really had no problem with priority, you know what I'm saying? Brian Turner, shout out. He always looked out for us.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say in between that, you got with Bentley Records, which I was intrigued because it seemed like, if I remember correctly, it was like based in Culver City, but you guys were in Detroit. So how, what, and who was Bentley Records for the 12-inch? You Can't Hold Me Back.
So a guy, one of our partners, uh, uh, Bernard Carter, he was doing promotions here in Detroit for a lot of different labels, and so he had got our music in the hands of Aubrey Taylor, and he worked for Bentley Records. out in Cali, because people were shooting, trying to shop records in New York, Cali, and all that, because that was really where the outlets were at, and we didn't really have any major outlets here in the city at the time. So a lot of people were shopping their music out in LA and New York or whatnot. So we got the plug through D.O.C and through Aubrey, and then got hooked up with Bentley Records, and they were actually the ones who came down and shot the "You Can't Hold Me Back" video. Brian Piccolo directed, but Bentley Records came down. They financed the video, and we shot that first video, and pressed up the album. We had already recorded, the album was already done and everything. So we ended up hooking up with them and get the video out, and then got the album out. So things didn't go well with that hookup. But at the meantime, we ended up getting turned on to Priority. Got word of us, and then we ended up having a meeting with Priority, and so we ended up switching to Priority. And then things. That's when everything kind of blew up. Then they put out the Frankly Speaking, and they went to number 6 in Billboard in December of '89. And so we was, it was cool after that, but a lot of shit jumped off in between that when we was dealing with them. Shit was going on with Priority with the fuck the police thing, and they had a lot of bullshit going on. Ice Cube wasn't happy; he was going through his shit, and we had our problems still going with Bentley, kind of dragging along, with us, and so it was just the timing was kind of off, and we really didn't have proper representation, legal wise or management, to handle all of that back then at them times. So it was like they kind of backed away because they couldn't handle all the shit they was handling at the time too. So a few years went by, and then that's when I met Babatunde, and then we put out the second album, AD's Revenge.
Right. Now, before we get to AD's Revenge, lots of other things I was curious about too, though, is with the video for You Can't Hold Me Back, I want you to explain for you, you got a buzz already, you put out a couple singles, this your third 12-inch. How did things change when you put out a video?
That was the beginning of, that was the beginning. I mean, I'm not technically, technically it was hardcore, being to rap My Little Frank, but that was everyone's ultimate goal, to have a video back then. And just like going in the studio wasn't a simple, easy thing to do, having a video was not either. That was cost even way more, you know what I'm saying? At that point in time, everyone did not have a video, back then. So it was a very, very big deal. When they came in, and first they wanted us to come out to LA, but we didn't want to do our first video in LA, you know what I'm saying, representing, Detroit. So they flew here, and we had a few different scenes that we set up. We're at the most scenes were at the Latin Quarter at the time. They changed it to the Grand Quarter later, but it was one of the best venues here in Detroit. But man, it was like a movie. It was crazy. It was it took us about 2 or 3 days, I believe. I can't hardly remember because I was up the whole time. And that was, as you can see, I'm up on the stage dancing under some hot ass lights. They wanted us to do all these takes. And it was like my first experience in doing any of that type of stuff. But we had a lot of support. The city came out. We told them, hey, we'll be out here. But I mean, we was out on Belle Isle, man. It's like it was so cold out there, dude. I can't even believe it. You could kind of tell I'm freezing. The wind was whipping. We right off the water, man. But we was doing what we had to do, getting our little acting on or whatever, man. But no, that video was the beginning of everybody knowing us. You know what I'm saying? Because everything else was like street, like underground, whatever you want to call it, under the radar or whatever. But when you put a video out, that's it. The world can decide and look and and see and everything. So, man, that was a very good time. That will always be the favorite. I don't care how many videos I do. That was always going to be the best one, the most my favorite one. even though it was the hardest to do, because like I said, we didn't know what we were doing. But we did have, like I said, people around us that did know what they're doing. Piccolo, he's been directing on TV and stuff like that for years. So he already, we had people that knew what they were doing to make it look the way it needed to look at that time. You know what I'm saying? Because like I say, everybody didn't have a video at that time, and if they did, it wasn't really elaborate, or anything just too high tech or whatever, because it just costed too much back then, man. But yeah, that was it. The You Can't Hold Me Back video, that was a landmark in our career, man. Like you say, after we didn't put out 3 12 inches and like bubbling around on underground, boom, we hit them with the. Because a lot of people, that's the first time they hear of us when they saw You Can't Hold Me Back. A lot of people don't know about those other couple of 12 inches that you mentioned. But yeah, man, that was a great time shooting that video.
And I want you to listen real close to me. I'm going to ask you some real simple questions, and I want some real simple answers. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
You said that you couldn't have possibly been at the crime scene at 11:15 because you were in the bookstore buying my audio book and my hardcover book at 11:15 when the crime scene occurred in Soren's book.
The history of gangster rap.
So you couldn't have been at the crime scene because you were buying the books.
Right. At 11:15, I was at the bookstore at 11:15, and when I bought the books and accidentally left them at the store.
So at 11:15, you couldn't have been at the crime scene because you were buying books, right?
At 11:15, when I was leaving, it was some people coming in, and I forgot to grab.
But you don't remember who
what they look
people,
like.
what they look like or nothing, right?
No.
So, at 12:15, you in the bookstore buying my audio book and hardcover book and Soren's book at 12:15. So you couldn't have been at the scene because you were buying the books, right?
Yeah. At 12:15 exactly, I was at the bookstore.
Now you see. You know you done fucked up.
What you mean?
First you said you were at the bookstore at 11:15, and then you said it was 12:15. You know you done fucked up, man.
He fucked up.
Yeah, he fucked up. He fucked up.
Man, you confusing me, man.
So, you get my book, my audio book, 40 years, and Soren's book, History of Gangster Rap, and if you don't, you know you done fucked up, right?
Man, the more those cops ask me questions, the more I wish I bought the motherfucking books.